All right, guys, so right arm underneath the left, one of the most important parts to building a consistent, reliable golf swing. This one piece can fix 3, 4, 5 other swing issues all in once. Let's dive in. I know a lot of people who come in and see me that have these swing faults that if they could just move a little bit better, right? If they had more flexibility, more mobility, we could get a lot of work done a lot faster. But I haven't been able to find an easy way to do it until I saw this Mobility Pro. And what it gives you is a detailed, customized, personalized plan right for you. So once you go through the testing, it tells you specifically what to do. I love that. It's easy to do. I did all this right from the comfort of my own home. Simple little, I did 15 to 20 minute sessions. You could do as long or as short as you want to, but you can do hours of mobility, right? It's just a couple of minutes, super easy. It's things that are gonna affect your ability to swing the club better. Right, so a lot of those nagging swing faults, there could be a lot of reasons outside of just your golf swing as to why you're doing it. It's how your body and your brain are putting together how you can work. So if you're interested in swinging the club better, improving your swing, something you can do that's easy, something you can do right at the comfort of your home, and it's free to try, then I would try out this Mobility Pro app. I've been using, you can see my score when I started. In literally a month, I went from that 76 to that 93. So I absolutely love this Mobility Pro. I've been using it myself. I highly recommend that you try it as well. So right arm underneath the left, there's two things I want you to take away from this video. We're gonna hop over, I'm gonna show you what I mean with some videos, and then we'll come back and talk drills. But the concept I want you to leave here with is I would like for your right arm, and we'll reference your elbow, especially during the downswing, to be underneath your left arm for the entire downswing. And I'd like for your right arm to be behind your left arm for the entire downswing. Right elbow underneath the left elbow, right arm behind the left elbow. What am I talking about? Let's hop over to a video. I'll show you exactly what I mean.
One of the most important concepts of the golf swing here, right arm under left. Let's go ahead and take a look. Now, during the backswing takeaway phase, you're going to note that the trail arm or the right arm will stay above the left arm. It's one of the first checkpoints here we'll look at. And just have Adam Scott face on and down the line. You'll note if we angled, here's the right elbow, here's the left elbow, and we'll just reference the elbows. The right elbow is above the left elbow during the takeaway. By the time they get to left arm parallel during that takeaway, that's about the time, usually when the elbows start to get close to level, depending upon shoulder tilt, shoulder rotation. Here you can see the right arm, right elbow still slightly above the left elbow here at this point. And that's kind of normal, just slightly above, still with the right arm. Once we get to the top of the swing, we'll see that the right elbow now will get below the left elbow. And this is where it starts. And what's really important from here as we start to work down is that that right elbow is going to stay below the left elbow. And that has to do a lot with the internal rotation of the trail shoulder, right? The external rotation of the trail shoulder, the internal rotation of the lead shoulder, and maintaining those body tells. Look at how much the right elbow is below the left elbow. Now let's get into here. What you're going to see as he goes into impact is that right elbow stays below the left elbow, and the right arm, and really one of the big pieces here that we look at when the right elbow is underneath the left or below the left elbow, is also under the left elbow. So see, here's the left arm, here's the right arm. See that gap or that hole in between the two. So the right elbow underneath the left elbow is a big piece in shallowing the shaft. And then from the down the line angle, you'll see it both below and underneath, all the way to the point where it gets to impact. And then gradually that'll start to change into the follow through. You can see the impact phase, right elbow well below the left elbow, right arm still underneath the left arm, and then that'll start to fade away into the follow through. So let's just take a look at one more example here. Another one we would use the model would be Grant from both sides. And we'll see the same thing. So you'll note the right elbow will be below the left at the setup position. A lot of players will also have the right arm slightly underneath the left arm at the setup. We'll talk through that. But same sort of things we're going to see here. The right elbow and arm stays on top of the left during the early backswing. Right elbow stays on top of the left. So you can see the right elbow is higher than the left elbow. Right elbow is higher than the left elbow. And then once we get back to left arm parallel, we'll still see that the right arm is slightly above the left arm, but you're getting closer, depending upon the swing model you use, to level here. The more externally rotated the trail shoulder, the more level it'll be at that point. But a lot of players just slightly above there. By the time you get to the top of the backswing, you'll see the right elbow now below the left, so the right arm's underneath the left arm here. And really important in transition, especially down to left arm parallel, that right elbow stays underneath that left elbow. That'll be the piece that keeps the shoulder externally rotated to get the shaft shallow. We'll talk more through that. And then the right elbow will still stay underneath the left elbow into delivery. Right elbow underneath the left. And again, now you can start to really see the right arm underneath the left arm. And we'll talk through the drill for that. And you'll see that same look all the way into impact. Right arm is still underneath the left arm. So let's go ahead and talk more about that and talk about some drills.
Okay, so obviously, guys, you saw some checkpoints there with some model swings. Now, one of the key points, right, is we're talking downswing, right arm underneath and behind the left. But in reality, what you do going back matters, and it affects it. And so if we're talking full swing, what we would see in a good full swing, and there's some variations in setup. I would personally prefer most of my players I work with to have the right arm a little under the left and behind. So from face on, if you drew a dot on the right elbow and left elbow, the right elbow is below the left elbow. And from down the line, the right arm is behind, or the right elbow is behind it. So it's preset a little external. In the takeaway phase, the right elbow should be above the left elbow from face on. That helps me keep the club on plane, club face square. If I were to get my right elbow below my left in the takeaway, that gets the club inside, right? Usually shoulder high, internal rotation, face open. Right elbow's above left elbow. By the time I get to left arm parallel, right elbow still slightly above the left or even with. Depends on your trail shoulder and your shoulder tilt. A little bit under at the top, but really what's important is coming down. So the big issue we see all the time with golfers is the right elbow gets above the left elbow. And that obviously gets the shaft steep and out in front. Whereas we want the right elbow to be underneath the left elbow. Now, a big caveat and a big thing that comes in with this is club face angle. So sometimes it's a chicken or the egg thing, but the bad version would be right elbow above the left from down the line and from face on. You can see my right above my left. The shaft gets steep as my elbows separate. Usually my wrist will cup and the face will get open. I see this every day at CogornoGolf.com. Shameless plug. Now what we do about that is we get the elbows closer, which is the right elbow and left elbow closer together, or more external rotation, right elbow under the left. And if that doesn't already fix it, make sure that the club face is good to go. So the toe and the heel are right on top of each other, or the toe slightly above or in front of the heel. And that would be done with wrist angles or grip usually. But right elbow underneath the left. And then from the face on, what you would see when you do that is the elbow, right arm should be under the left arm from face on. So that's the elbow underneath, the right elbow underneath the left, but there's also the right arm behind the left, which is equally as important. You start to see that more here when the club is parallel to the ground, club head just inside my hands. See the window between my right arm and my left arm? And my right arm is behind my left arm. I see this all the time. Now you can't see my left arm, right? The club shaft is too far out. I want it in, bent external. And then even when I get to impact, I should still be able to feel the same thing. So my right arm is under my left. There's a little window here. You should be able to see my left arm above my right, and my right elbow is below my left. So right elbow below the left, right arm behind the left arm. Right elbow below the left, right arm behind the left arm. That helps me deliver the club shallow, shaft shallow from inside, keep the club face square, and have all the body pivot stuff that I want. So obviously you saw those players do it. That should make good sense when we're talking about it. Let's talk about one really good drill, how you could train this in your swing. All right, guys, so here's the main drill that I would do is take an alignment rod and put it underneath your right armpit. And I'd put it like all the way up high into my armpit, so it's tucked up there pretty darn good. And almost all of it sits in front of me. So the greater majority sits in front, maybe just a smidge behind. And I'm gonna use this front of the stick as a reference for where my left arm and elbow is relative to my right, both during the backswing and the downswing. And this is a drill that we really usually do till about left arm parallel, but it can be really effective for the takeaway as well. If you're someone, let me show you how it works, in the takeaway phase, what I wanna do is keep my right elbow above my left and have the stick not hit my arm when the club's parallel. What I see a lot of people do is they get this look, which is the stick actually let's say hands hip high or the takeaway, the stick would actually hit your arm, which indicates that the left elbow is above my right elbow. I've got too much arm rotation, too much shoulder rotation, probably a flat shoulder turn. Club head's too inside, club face probably up, right? Lots of issues there. What I want to have is the right arm stay on top and not hit the stick. Now the stick should get onto my arm about left arm parallel, because now the elbows are pretty close to even. Now here's a big part of this. If I do the good version here and I get the right elbow under the left, so I'm feeling the right elbow pointing down towards the ground, I'm feeling more external rotation in my shoulder, my humerus bone or my bicep gets more vertical to the ground. I feel like that stick is pressing against my left arm here as I work all the way into the impact zone. Now really it can come slightly off before impact, but just as an example, that's what it would, this is an exaggerated version, but stay all the way on there. So you can see the gap between my right and left arm. Now this is a good drill if you have the opposite. Let's say you get back good, right? Let's say you get back good to here. If I go over the top, see how that stick gets off my left arm early. Shaft gets steep, right elbow's not below the left elbow, right arm's not behind the arm, and I'm gonna swing too far across it, have to fix it at the bottom. Stay off the arm, keep the right elbow underneath, keep it on the arm to impact. What a good little feedback drill this is. So keep it above, right elbow above, keep it off, left arm parallel, feel it on there. So now I can see that gap between my right arm and left arm that I want to transport all the way down into impact. Now I wouldn't hit balls with this, and you could, but what I would do is I would do that drill, retain that feel, use video feedback from down the line, and then I'm trying to implement those same feels. Now again, if I'm sort of the takeaway person that does the bad version, and why that's important, because if you hit yourself early and the left elbow gets above, almost always the reaction is going to be the other way. So it is important to get that early piece good, right elbow underneath the left, and then keeping the right arm behind it. So let's just hit with that same feel. So I do 2 rehearsals with the stick in, drop that out, and then I'm trying to retain that same sensation. Yeah, and that's really solid. Hey guys, quick caveat here I forgot to mention I want to talk about as you're practicing this, a couple important things. Number one, as your right elbow is staying underneath your left elbow, you're not doing that by lifting your left shoulder. We're getting the right elbow underneath the left elbow as the left shoulder stays down and stays lower in transition. That's a key concept. You're doing it through shoulder, external shoulder rotation, not by changing your side bend and tilt. So your left shoulder does not come up, that stays down. And as you're practicing, what I really like to see here is go back to about left arm parallel and feel from there, the elbows are level, feel the right arm from a static position, feel the right arm start to get underneath the left till about last parallel, and then feel that right arm behind the left all the way to impact. Now, if you're doing that, notice as I'm going here in impact, if your face is wide open, you gotta add a little bit of crank at the bottom, right? A little bit of lead arm supination to get the face square. So arms even with each other, slowly feel the right arm underneath the left, early, so the elbows underneath the left, and then feel the right arm staying behind the left arm, add a little bit of supination in impact. Just wanted to add those little caveats. So we can go into a lot more detail with these things, but essentially that's kind of, I want to keep it a little more simple with this trail arm versus the lead arm, in that when you're recording from down the line and face on, elbow, right elbow underneath the left, very important from both sides. That's an indicator of shoulder rotation. Make sure that your club face is square enough via grip, wrist angles, the other videos we have to go in with that. And the right elbow should stay under the left elbow or behind all the way in through impact. Give that a shot, use video feedback. We're gonna put another card in the screen of a video that I did with Steve Saraki, one of our Cogorno Golf coaches, talking more about the trail, shoulder, and arm during the downswing, some more checkpoints, a little more detail, a little more feels. If you wanna check that out, if you wanna check out cogornogolf.com, put a plan like this together, would love to work with you, take your game to the next level. Love to see you there.